The massive holographic display flickered with intricate star charts and data streams, casting a ghostly blue light across the control room of the Terran Deep Space Research Facility. Marcos Reyes leaned forward, his weathered hands clasped behind his back, eyes scanning the complex matrix of information that danced before him. Outside the reinforced windows, the facility's massive antenna arrays stretched across the Atacama Desert, blending into the stark landscape like mechanical sentinels. "Incoming anomaly," called out Elena Rodriguez, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. The youngest senior analyst at the facility, she had a reputation for catching patterns others missed. Her family had been space colonists for generations, giving her an intuitive understanding of cosmic movements that went beyond typical academic training. The anomaly was subtle at first, a microscopic shift in the quantum communication network, a barely perceptible ripple in the vast electromagnetic ocean that humanity had learned to navigate. Most monitoring systems would have missed it entirely, but the Terran Deep Space Research Facility was anything but ordinary. Marcos moved closer to the display, his cybernetic eye, a remnant from his decades of military service, zooming in on the intricate data patterns. "Isolate grid section 7 Gamma," he commanded, his voice calm but carrying the weight of decades of strategic experience. The room fell silent, save for the gentle hum of advanced computing systems that seemed to breathe with an almost living intelligence. The facility itself was a testament to humanity's evolution. Built after the Great Restructuring of 2189, it represented a new approach to global cooperation. No longer divided by old national boundaries, humanity had transformed its approach to scientific research and space exploration. The Atacama facility was just one of several global research centers that operated with complete transparency and shared resources. Elena's fingers moved with practiced precision, isolating the anomalous data stream. "Sir, I'm detecting multiple microsignatures consistent with long-range reconnaissance patterns," she reported. Her tone was measured, but a slight tremor in her voice betrayed the underlying tension. Marcos studied the display, years of military training allowing him to read between the lines of raw data. Something was coming, something that had been carefully planned and meticulously prepared. The signs were there for those who knew how to look. Subtle gravitational distortions, quantum communication interference, and specific radiation signatures that didn't match any known natural phenomena. "Contact the Lunar Research Station," Marcos instructed, his cybernetic eye now fully engaged, its advanced optics processing information at speeds far beyond human capability. "Have them cross-reference these signatures with our deep space monitoring networks." The lunar station was humanity's primary early warning system, a massive complex built into the lunar surface that served as a critical defensive and research hub. If something was brewing in the cosmic frontier, they would be the first to know. Elena worked furiously, her fingers creating complex data webs that interconnected various monitoring systems. The facility's quantum computing network was unlike anything in known space, a system so advanced that it could process multiple dimensional calculations simultaneously, detecting patterns that would take traditional systems centuries to identify. "Marcos," she said suddenly, her voice dropping to a whisper, "these signatures, they're not random. They're too precise, too calculated." The implications hung in the air like a heavy mist. Precision meant intention. Intention meant something was being planned, and planned with extraordinary care. Outside, the Atacama Desert remained unchanged. Wind swept across the barren landscape, carrying dust that had witnessed countless millennia. But inside the facility, humanity's most advanced minds were piecing together a puzzle that would soon shake the foundations of known galactic civilization. Marcos placed a hand on Elena's shoulder, a gesture of both support and preparation. "Keep tracking," he said quietly. "Something is coming, and we need to be ready." The holographic display continued its silent dance, lines of data flowing like cosmic rivers, carrying with them the first whispers of a conflict that would redefine humanity's place in the universe. The colony of New Santiago burned against the backdrop of an alien sky. Distant explosions painted the horizon in violent bursts of orange and crimson, silhouetting the desperate evacuation efforts. Captain Isabella Nguyen gripped the communication console of the colony's primary defense hub, her fingers leaving slight indentations in the reinforced carbon fiber surface. Confirm status of evacuation sectors 7 through 9. She barked into the communication array. The colony had been designed as a pinnacle of human space settlement, a marvel of terraforming and architectural innovation that now faced complete destruction. Established in 2239, New Santiago was humanity's most advanced outer colony. Nestled in the Epsilon Eridani system, it represented nearly 2 decades of careful planning, massive resource investment, and the dreams of thousands of settlers. Hydroponics farms that could feed entire planetary populations, advanced research facilities, and a population of 250,000 humans who had transformed a once hostile planet into a thriving ecosystem. All of it now under systematic attack. The Zorn strike was methodical, almost surgical. They weren't simply destroying, they were dismantling human presence with calculated precision. Each attack targeted critical infrastructure, communication relays, power generation systems, and strategic defense points. It was a level of strategic planning that went beyond typical military engagement. Captain Nguyen, a voice crackled through the emergency communication channel. Diego Ramirez, head of Colonial Emergency Services, sounded breathless. We've lost contact with the southern settlement clusters. Estimated evacuation completion is now at 62%. Isabella's mind raced. 62% meant nearly 100,000 people were still in potential danger. The colony's evacuation protocols were among the most advanced in human space, but the Zorn had somehow circumvented their early warning systems. Her cybernetic implant, a standard issue for deep space military personnel, began processing multiple data streams simultaneously. Tactical information, colony survival metrics, and real-time imaging from drone reconnaissance painted a grim picture. The Zorn weren't just attacking, they were systematically removing human presence from this sector of space. Initiate protocol firebreak, Isabella commanded. It was a last resort measure that would activate hidden defensive systems integrated directly into the planet's geological infrastructure. Massive energy shields, concealed weapon systems, and automated defense protocols would engage. In the control room, holographic displays showed the colony's transformation. What appeared to be simple rock formations and geological features began to shift. Camouflaged weapon systems emerged from what looked like ordinary mountain ranges. Energy conduits, hidden for decades, sparked to life with an almost living intelligence. Diego's voice returned, this time with a mixture of hope and disbelief. Protocol is engaging. I've never seen anything like this. The truth was far more complex. What the Zorn didn't know, what no alien civilization had yet discovered, was that humanity's outer colonies were far more than simple settlements. Each was a carefully prepared defensive node, designed to be both a sanctuary and an unexpected fortress. New Santiago began to fight back. Energy weapons that had been seamlessly integrated into the planetary landscape erupted to life. The very ground seemed to become a weapon, with defensive systems emerging from what moments ago had appeared to be simple rock and soil. Isabella watched the tactical display, her expression a mix of determination and strategic calculation. The colony wasn't just defending itself, it was collecting data. Every Zorn weapon discharge, every attack vector, every strategic movement was being recorded, analyzed, and processed. Marcos, she sub-vocalized through her communication implant, knowing that thousands of light years away, Marcos Reyes would be receiving this intelligence. They've taken the bait. The attack on New Santiago was more than just a battle. It was a carefully orchestrated plan that had been years in the making. Humanity had prepared for this moment, turning each colony into a potential trap for any civilization foolish enough to underestimate them. As the battle raged, the colony itself seemed to come alive. Defensive systems that looked like natural terrain transformed. Energy weapons emerged from what appeared to be simple rock formations. The Zorn were about to learn a critical lesson about human ingenuity. This was not a defeat. This was the first move in a much larger game. Deep beneath the Andes Mountains, the Quantum Entanglement Research Complex hummed with an energy that defied conventional understanding. Dr. Lian Wang stood before a series of containment chambers that housed what might be the most revolutionary technological breakthrough in human history. The Quantum Network Node, a device so complex that it made traditional supercomputers look like ancient abacuses, pulsed with a soft, almost living light. "Final calibration sequence initiating," announced Sophia Nakamura, the lead quantum systems engineer. Her fingers moved across holographic interfaces with a precision that seemed more machine than human. Around her, a team of researchers from every corner of the globe worked in perfect synchronization, a testament to humanity's newfound ability to transcend old divisions. The Quantum Entanglement Network was more than just a communication system. It was a complete paradigm shift in how information, energy, and potentially matter could be transmitted across vast cosmic distances. Traditional faster-than-light communication relied on complex workarounds and massive energy expenditures. This system was different, fundamentally, radically different. Lian remembered the decades of work that had led to this moment. The early failures, the countless setbacks, the moments when the entire project seemed impossible. Quantum entanglement had been a theoretical concept for centuries, but turning it into a practical, weaponizable communication and deployment system had required something more than just scientific brilliance. It had required human stubbornness. The containment chamber began to vibrate, not with the harsh mechanical shake of old machinery, but with a subtle, almost organic resonance. Sophia's voice remained calm. Quantum coherence at 98.7%. Stability matrix holding. What they had created was nothing short of miraculous. A network that could transmit complete tactical information, energy signatures, and potentially even matter across infinite distances instantaneously. No time delay. No signal degradation. Pure, perfect transmission. Initiating first full spectrum test, Sophia announced. A holographic display appeared, showing multiple star systems simultaneously. Each was a complex web of potential communication and deployment points, represented by intricate, interconnected nodes of light. Lian watched as the first test began. A data packet, containing complete tactical information about the Zorn attack on New Santiago, was prepared for transmission. But this was no simple data transfer. The packet contained not just information, but potential action vectors, predictive strategic models, and adaptive response protocols. The quantum node pulsed. For a microscopic moment that was both instantaneous and eternal, the data existed everywhere and nowhere. Then, with a soft shimmer of light, it was transmitted. Thousands of light years away, in the depths of space near the New Santiago colony, defensive systems that had appeared dormant suddenly came to life. Weapon systems that looked like natural terrain transformed. Communication relays that seemed to be nothing more than random geological formations began to pulse with an intelligent energy. "Transmission complete," Sophia said, her voice betraying just a hint of excitement. Full tactical integration achieved. Lian understood the true significance of what they had created. This was more than a communication network. It was a living, breathing system of cosmic intelligence. Each node could communicate, adapt, and respond with a speed and complexity that would be incomprehensible to traditional military strategists. The Zorn had attacked thinking they understood human capabilities. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Begin preparing the next phase," Lian instructed. The quantum network was now fully operational, and humanity was about to show the galaxy exactly what they were capable of. In the containment chamber, the quantum node continued to pulse. It wasn't just a piece of technology. It was a statement, a declaration of humanity's potential, a warning to anyone who would dare to underestimate them. The game had changed, and the galaxy was about to find out. The tactical command center aboard the U.S. Rodriguez was a symphony of controlled chaos. Rafael Ortiz stood at the center of the holographic display, his fingers tracing potential attack vectors with surgical precision. The quantum network pulsed through every system, transforming the ship into something more than a traditional military vessel. It was a living, thinking weapon. Target acquisition confirmed, called out Lieutenant Kamala Patel, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were about to execute. The Rodriguez was the lead vessel of humanity's most advanced strategic response fleet, a ship that represented decades of technological innovation and strategic planning. The Zorn had made a critical mistake. Their attack on New Santiago was not just an act of aggression. It was an invitation that humanity had been waiting centuries to accept. Rafael's cybernetic interface synchronized with the ship's quantum communication network. Each potential strike point appeared as a complex, three-dimensional constellation of possibilities. The quantum network wasn't just transmitting information, it was predicting, adapting, and strategizing in real time. Initiate first wave protocol, Rafael commanded. The universe seemed to hold its breath. Across multiple star systems, human defensive and offensive systems came to life simultaneously. What appeared to be simple planetary formations transformed. Communication relays disguised as geological features activated. Weapon systems that had been carefully integrated into the very landscape of colonized worlds began to move. The first strikes were not about destruction. They were a precise, calculated surgical removal of the Zorn's strategic capabilities. Supply lines vanished, not destroyed, simply erased from existence. Entire military infrastructure networks collapsed without a single traditional weapon being fired. The quantum network allowed for a level of precision that defied conventional understanding of warfare. Lieutenant Patel watched in awe as entire Zorn communication networks simply ceased to exist. "Sir," she said, her voice carrying a mixture of professional calm and barely contained excitement, "we're experiencing zero traditional energy signatures. It's like they're being removed from the quantum fabric of space." Rafael understood the deeper strategy. This wasn't about killing. This was about demonstrating capabilities so far beyond the Zorn's comprehension that it would fundamentally alter their understanding of conflict. Each strike was carefully calculated. Research facilities that had been developing technologies to counter human expansion were quietly neutralized. Military staging areas simply stopped existing. Communication networks collapsed without a trace of traditional weapon discharge. The quantum network was rewriting the rules of warfare in real time. "Secondary wave preparing," announced the ship's AI system. Unlike traditional artificial intelligence, this was a collaborative intelligence, part machine, part human strategy, working in perfect synchronization. Holographic displays showed the progressive dismantling of Zorn's strategic capabilities. It wasn't destruction. It was systematic, surgical removal. Entire military infrastructures were being lifted out of existence, leaving behind no traditional trace of conflict. Rafael understood the psychological component of their strategy. The Zorn would be left confused, terrified, unable to comprehend how their most critical systems could simply cease to exist. "Transmission complete," Lieutenant Patel reported. "Zero human casualties. Zero traditional weapon discharges." The U.S. Rodriguez continued its silent vigil, a weapon so advanced it redefined the concept of military engagement. The quantum network pulsed through its systems, a living testament to human innovation. This was more than a counterattack. This was a declaration. Humanity was not just another species in the galaxy. They were something entirely different, something unexpected, something that would forever change how interstellar conflict was understood. The first wave was complete, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Galactic Council chamber was unlike any traditional meeting space, suspended in a massive zero-gravity complex that orbited a carefully neutral star system. The Council represented the most advanced civilizations in known space. Holographic representations of various species flickered and shifted, each delegation occupying a precisely defined spatial zone. Ambassador Helena Rodriguez stood among the human delegation, her posture calm and calculated. She wore a neural interface suit that allowed instantaneous communication with Earth's strategic command, a technological marvel that set her apart from the other representatives. Krex Noller, the primary representative of the Zorn Imperium, materialized with an aggressive shimmer. His crystalline form projected rage and disbelief. "This is an unprecedented violation of interstellar protocols," he broadcast, his communication tentacles vibrating with fury. "Humans have destroyed critical Zorn infrastructure without provocation." The chamber fell silent. Every species present knew this was a pivotal moment. Ambassador Rodriguez's holographic projection remained perfectly still. The Zorn initiated an unprovoked attack on human colonial settlements. She responded, her voice calm and precise. Our response was measured and strategic. Representatives from the Chlorian Collective, a silicon-based species known for their analytical approach, began running complex probability matrices. Their holographic forms shifted and recalculated, trying to understand the technological breakthrough humanity had just demonstrated. The quantum nullification event, as it was already being called, had changed everything. Entire Zorn military installations had simply ceased to exist. No weapon signatures, no traditional energy discharges, nothing. Kutal, the elder representative of the Morphean consensus, spoke next. Their species could perceive multiple dimensional realities simultaneously, and their concern was palpable. The humans have demonstrated a technological capability that defies our current understanding of physical limitations. They communicated, their form rippling with complex emotional patterns. Holographic displays began showing reconstructions of the human strikes. Each replay revealed nothing. No traditional weapon signatures, no energy discharges. It was as if the Zorn infrastructure had been mathematically erased from existence. The Galactic Council had protocols for nearly every potential interstellar conflict. But this was something entirely new. "We demand an immediate investigation," Krex Noller demanded, his crystalline form pulsing with aggressive energy. "The humans have violated every known principle of interstellar engagement." Ambassador Rodriguez allowed herself the slightest smile. "We are prepared to provide full transparency," she responded. The statement was both a challenge and an invitation. Behind the diplomatic facade, humanity was watching. Every communication, every reaction was being analyzed by the most advanced intelligence systems ever created. The quantum network processed billions of potential scenarios with each passing moment. The Chlorian representatives began projecting complex mathematical models. Their holographic forms shifted and recalculated, attempting to understand the technological breakthrough. How could an entire military infrastructure simply cease to exist? Full of the Morphean consensus studied the human representative with multidimensional perception. Something was different about humanity, something that went beyond traditional technological understanding. The humans have introduced a new variable into galactic political calculations, one of the Chlorian representatives noted. Their statement was more a mathematical observation than an emotional response. Ambassador Rodriguez knew the true game was just beginning. This wasn't about the Zorn. This was about demonstrating humanity's potential to the entire galactic community. The council chamber continued its silent deliberation. Holographic representations shifted. Complex communication networks hummed with unprecedented levels of activity. Humanity had just rewritten the rules of interstellar engagement, and the galaxy was struggling to understand exactly what had just happened. The silence was deafening. The implications were cosmic. The global communication hub in Sao Paulo pulsed with an energy that transcended traditional information networks. Diego Ramirez stood at the center of humanity's most sophisticated psychological warfare operation, watching as carefully crafted narratives began to spread across galactic communication channels. This was more than simple information dissemination. This was a carefully orchestrated strategy that would reshape how the entire galaxy perceived the recent conflict. Holographic displays showed real-time communication flows across multiple species information networks. Each transmission was a precisely calculated piece of a much larger strategic puzzle. The quantum communication network allowed for a level of information manipulation that went far beyond traditional propaganda. Initiating primary narrative sequence, called out Mei Yamamoto, the lead communication strategist. Her fingers danced across quantum-entangled communication interfaces, releasing carefully constructed data packages that would simultaneously reach multiple alien civilizations. The first wave of information revealed the complete, unedited logs of the Zorn attack on New Santiago. Every moment of aggression, every civilian target, every violation of interstellar diplomatic protocols was laid bare. But this was no simple data dump. Each piece of information was contextualized, cross-referenced, and presented with a level of transparency that was both devastating and impossible to refute. Holographic reconstructions showed the human colonies before the attack, thriving settlements, advanced research centers, civilian infrastructure, then the Zorn assault. Precise, merciless, targeting civilian populations with calculated precision. We're detecting multiple secondary communication networks beginning to engage, May reported. Different alien species were beginning to analyze the information, their communication networks lighting up with complex analytical patterns. Diego watched the strategic overlay. This wasn't just about presenting information. It was about controlling the narrative in a way that had never been possible before. The quantum communication network allowed for something unprecedented. Each information packet could be subtly adjusted in real time, responding to the analytical patterns of different alien species. What the Chlorian Collective saw would be slightly different from what the Morphine Consensus perceived. Each transmission was a living, breathing entity of information. Initial response patterns are developing, May announced. Holographic displays showed communication networks of various alien species beginning to process the information. The Chlorian Collective was already running complex probability matrices. The Morphine Consensus was perceiving the information across multiple dimensional realities. But the true genius was in the subtlety. Embedded within the information packages were linguistic and psychological triggers that would provoke specific response patterns. Each alien species would find themselves drawing conclusions that humanity had carefully predetermined. The Zorn's aggressive actions were not just exposed, they were contextualized. Years of covert aggressive behavior, systematic violations of interstellar agreements, a pattern of colonial aggression that went far beyond the attack on New Santiago. Narrative convergence at 73%, May reported. The communication networks of multiple alien species were beginning to align, drawing conclusions that painted the Zorn as the aggressors. Diego understood the deeper strategy. This wasn't about winning a military conflict. This was about winning the far more important battle of perception. The quantum communication network allowed for a level of information control that was both subtle and absolute. Each transmission was a living thing, adapting, shifting, presenting information in ways that would be most effective for each specific audience. Secondary narrative layers preparing, May announced. These would provide additional context, showing humanity not as an aggressive species, but as a civilization defending itself with unprecedented restraint and technological sophistication. Outside the communication hub, Sao Paulo continued its daily rhythm. But inside, humanity was rewriting the rules of interstellar communication. The galaxy was about to see a conflict unlike anything in recorded history, and humanity would control every single narrative thread. The emergency session of the Galactic Council hung in a state of unprecedented tension. Ambassador Helena Rodriguez stood at the center of a holographic display that represented the most consequential moment in interstellar diplomacy since the first contact between spacefaring civilizations. Humanity presents its terms, she began, her voice calm and measured. Behind her, a quantum communication network pulsed with potential, each moment containing countless strategic possibilities. The human delegation had transformed the chamber into something more than a diplomatic meeting. It was a demonstration of capabilities that would redefine galactic power dynamics. Krex Noller of the Zorn Imperium materialized, his crystalline form vibrating with suppressed rage. You dare to dictate terms after your unprovoked assault. The translation systems captured not just his words, but the complex emotional undertones of his species' communication. Helena's holographic projection remained perfectly still. A series of data streams began to flow around her, each one a carefully prepared piece of evidence. Recordings of the Zorn attack, comprehensive logs of previous aggressive actions, a meticulously documented history of violations that stretched back centuries. Unprovoked, she responded, "We have documented evidence of systematic aggression against human settlements spanning decades." The chamber fell silent. Holographic representations of various alien species began running complex analytical models. The Chlorian Collective's mathematical projections flickered rapidly, calculating potential outcomes with inhuman speed. "Our terms are simple," Helena continued. The quantum network hummed with potential energy. Full compensation for destroyed human colonies, complete withdrawal from contested sectors, and most critically, a fundamental restructuring of interstellar diplomatic protocols. Full of the Morphean consensus, a species capable of perceiving multiple dimensional realities, spoke next. Their form rippled with complex emotional patterns. The humans possess capabilities that defy our current understanding of physical and communication technologies. A holographic display began showing the complete dismantling of Zorn military infrastructure. No weapon signatures, no traditional energy discharges. It was as if entire military complexes had been mathematically erased from existence. "We could have destroyed the Zorn homeworld," Helena stated matter-of-factly. "We chose diplomacy instead." The implicit threat hung in the air. The quantum network continued its silent dance of potential actions. Each moment contained countless strategic possibilities, each possibility more devastating than the last. Krex Noller's crystalline form pulsed with a mixture of fury and fear. The Zorn had believed themselves to be the most advanced military force in the galaxy. Now they understood how completely they had been outmaneuvered. "You have 24 standard galactic cycles to comply," Helena announced. The terms were not a negotiation. They were a statement of fact. The quantum communication network processed billions of potential scenarios with each passing moment. Behind the diplomatic facade, humanity's most advanced intelligence systems were analyzing every potential response, every potential conflict trajectory. All of the Morphean consensus made a fascinating observation. The humans have introduced a fundamental new variable into galactic political calculations. They communicated. It was more a mathematical observation than an emotional statement. The chamber remained suspended in a moment of absolute potential. Holographic representations shifted. Complex communication networks hummed with unprecedented levels of activity. Helena Rodriguez understood the true nature of this moment. This wasn't about the Zorn. This was about demonstrating humanity's potential to the entire galactic community. "We await your response," she concluded. The silence was absolute. The implications were cosmic. Humanity had just rewritten the rules of interstellar engagement, and the galaxy would never be the same. 60 standard galactic cycles later, the transformation was complete. The Terran Global Archive in Geneva stood as a testament to humanity's newfound position, not just as a member of the galactic community, but as its most unexpected architect. Marcos Reyes walked through the central hall, his cybernetic eye scanning the holographic displays that chronicled humanity's rise. Massive windows looked out over an Earth that had been completely transformed. Orbital habitats interwoven with planetary infrastructure, a perfect synthesis of technological innovation and ecological harmony. "The final diplomatic protocols are being ratified," announced Sophia Nakamura, now the chief diplomatic strategist for human galactic relations. Her neural interface hummed softly, processing countless communication streams simultaneously. The quantum network that had once been a weapon was now the primary communication infrastructure for interstellar diplomacy. What had begun as a strategic response had become something far more profound, a fundamental reimagining of how civilizations could interact. The Zorn Imperium had been systematically reduced from a major galactic power to a carefully monitored protectorate. Their aggressive expansion had been completely neutralized, not through traditional military conquest, but through a combination of technological superiority and strategic communication. The whole of the Morphine Consensus materialized in the Archive's central chamber, a holographic representation that carried the weight of their species' multidimensional perception. Humanity has introduced a new paradigm of interstellar cooperation. They communicated, their form rippling with complex emotional patterns. Marcos understood the deeper significance. This wasn't about victory. This was about evolution. The diplomatic restructuring had been comprehensive. New protocols prevented unprovoked aggression. Communication networks were now designed to be transparent, with built-in mechanisms that made large-scale deception impossible. The quantum communication infrastructure ensured that every civilization had access to a shared, verifiable reality. Sophia approached, her movements precise and calculated. The Chlorian Collective has completed their final analysis of the new interstellar governance model, she reported. Holographic displays showed complex mathematical projections that demonstrated the unprecedented stability of the new system. Earth had become more than a planetary civilization. It was now the central hub of a new kind of galactic interaction. The human approach, characterized by technological innovation, strategic thinking, and an unexpected capacity for diplomatic restraint, had fundamentally altered the nature of interstellar relations. Orbital facilities showed the extent of the transformation. Research centers that collaborated across species lines. Diplomatic complexes that hosted representatives from dozens of civilizations. Economic systems that valued innovation and cooperation over territorial expansion. "We're receiving the final ratification from the outer colony representatives," Sophia announced. The quantum network pulsed with the significance of the moment. Marcos looked out over the global display. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had reimagined it. The transformation went beyond political structures. The quantum communication network had become a tool for unprecedented cultural exchange. Species that had been isolated for millennia now shared knowledge, perspectives, and potential collaborations at speeds that defied previous understanding. Kittle's multidimensional perception provided a unique perspective. "Humanity has done something unprecedented," they communicated. "You have transformed conflict into cooperation." The Archive's displays showed the comprehensive changes: new scientific collaborations, shared research initiatives, diplomatic frameworks that prioritized mutual understanding over historical conflicts. The Zorn Imperium, once a major aggressive power, was now a carefully monitored member of a cooperative galactic community. Their military capabilities had been completely neutralized, not through destruction, but through a comprehensive restructuring of their societal infrastructure. "Full integration complete," Sophia reported. Marcos reflected on the journey. What had begun as a defensive response had become a fundamental reimagining of interstellar civilization. Humanity had not conquered through traditional means. They had conquered through innovation, strategic thinking, and an unexpected capacity for collaborative transformation. The quantum network continued its silent dance, a living testament to humanity's potential. The galaxy would never be the same.